From the BBC World Service, in association with ABC and Akashvani, this is Stumped.
Hello, I'm Alison Mitchell in London and welcome to the 500th episode of Stumped. With me, as always, is Jim Maxwell for the ABC in Sydney and Charu Sharma for Akashvani is in Bangalore. Now, coming up this week, we are going to be hearing how the rise in the amount of youth cricket being played is causing burnout in some cases. But first, we're going to chat about the Champions Trophy, where the hosts and defending champions Pakistan are out, as are England, beaten in exhilarating fashion by Afghanistan to seal their fate. Both teams were eliminated at the earliest opportunity. Pakistan suffering group stage defeats to New Zealand and India. And it's the third ICC white ball tournament in a row where they've exited before the knockouts. Bangladesh have gone out as well, whilst both India and New Zealand are early confirmed semi-finalists from Group A. But Jim, Pakistan just never seemed to get going, did they? Which was so disappointing for their fans, particularly after waiting for so long for an ICC event to be held in their country.
Well, I'd like to blame the schedulers, but they're going backwards. They can't score enough runs. They're a bit like England under pressure. They look to be a leaderless lot. They've got a lot of work to do.
What about India, Charu? Because for them, well, it's been all about Virat Kohli, hasn't it? Short of runs in tests lately, maybe, but I mean, goodness, imperious in the ODI format. And he's become the fastest player to 14,000 ODI runs, breaking Sachin Tendulkar's record by getting to that milestone in 287 innings compared to Tendulkar's 350. And he brought up the record in style with a century to win their match comfortably against Pakistan. So Kohli, only the third batter to score 14,000 runs in ODIs. Charu, just sum up how remarkable it is to reach this milestone and so quickly.
The template of one-day cricket really suits him because he's not the biggest striker of the ball. He can hit a big six if he wishes to. He likes to push and prod and get those runs as he does. Maybe not as efficiently or as quickly in T20 cricket, but he seems to be a machine built for ODIs. I do wish in the last 4 years or so he could have translated a similar proficiency in test match cricket, which is where he's really suffering a bit, more than a bit. But in one-day cricket, I mean, his style is, especially on wickets which don't have too much or are not particularly green, he's built for the cause. And of course, he's feasting on these wonderful Dubai wickets, which if you decide you don't want to get out, there's always place to push things around and take a 1 or 2 and a loose ball for a boundary. So he has done exceptionally well, without doubt. Remains the top 3 in the world. But in terms of gathering those runs that quickly, I think that's just so difficult to emulate. Perhaps that's going to be a record for a very, very long time. And the Indians are delighted with the fact that Kohli, whom they dote on, is getting the runs. They're happy that others are getting it too. Shubman Gill's got a century. Shreyas has done well. Rohit Sharma's got them off to great starts. But, you know, in cricket, there's this magical figure. You get 94 and people don't seem to want to talk about it. When you get 100, and then it's all over the place. It's all over the news.
All about the milestones. But Jim, Kohli had been under some scrutiny recently, hadn't he, for lack of runs, and particularly in the test format. But he does seem to pull it out of the bag when India need him most. You know, is that a true sign of his character, I suppose, mental fortitude?
Well, he seems to have the desire and perhaps the form now that he's into the kind of rhythm that can be very damaging for opposing sides. So from his viewpoint, I hope it continues for the rest of the Champions Trophy. He's blessed to have so many good batsmen around him. That's a big plus for India, particularly as they're playing the tournament on their own terms and they're not playing any games in Pakistan, which is a bit of a nonsense, but that's the way it is. And it'll contribute, I would imagine, to India at least getting to the final. But you never know. Australia might just turn up and steal the trophy from under their nose like they did last time. Or someone else like New Zealand could do that too.
Well, next on Stumped, you might have seen that the WPL's youngest ever player, 16-year-old G. Kamalini, hit the winning runs in Mumbai Indians match against Gujarat Giants. That's come just a couple of months after 13-year-old Vaibhav Suryavanshi made headlines as the youngest ever player in the IPL mega auction signed by Rajasthan Royals. So this got us thinking about some of the pressure that young players can experience as they're all chasing a cricketing dream. Now, 8 years ago in Australia, Melbourne's Western region had 160 junior cricket teams. That's now grown to 420, with children of Indian and South Asian heritage playing at record levels. But there are some fears of burnout as youngsters push themselves or are pushed to succeed under pressure. Well, Vanessa Pereira is the Vice President of the Western Region Junior Cricket Association and joins us now on Stumped. Hi, Vanessa.
Hi, Alison. Lovely to meet you.
Great to have you with us. Can you paint the picture for us then? I mean, I've been reading that kids as young as 11 are competing in multiple matches every weekend. How much is too much?
Yeah, that's a really valid question and a real concern for us within our association or our league. Look, we're in a very big growth corridor in the Melbourne western area of the city, and we've had just recently young boys and girls playing up to 70 games for just this season, and so we are in that dilemma of how do we support these kids, how do we support their families, and perhaps grow an understanding of what's too much cricket. They're growing bodies, they're young people, and is that too much cricket for them to play in a season? And we think it is. So we want to take this very seriously and try and do something about it.
Do you come across many what you might call sort of pushy parents, if you like, who might sort of see their children living out their own dreams and want to push them harder?
Oh, look, there's definitely, there's always those parents. I look after and coordinate the representative program. So we're involved in a program that's run metropolitan wide. And I could show you emails for days of parents who are disappointed or upset that their child didn't get through a particular trial session. And I guess one of the things that we try to explain is there's 26 million people living in Australia and there's one Australian cricket team. So we're looking for the most special talent, and we're competing with every other state in the country as well. So it's not an easy thing to do. And the two young players you mentioned earlier are special super talents. So it's not always going to be a dream that's achievable. So, as part of that education program, we need to also, there's nothing wrong with being a club player for the rest of your life. And that can be just as fulfilling and just as exciting. And those sorts of loyalty things and friendships that come from that can be just as exciting. So it's trying to explain to parents that it's not the be all and the end all. And our other concern is that if they don't achieve these representative teams, where do they go? Do they still play cricket or do they walk away from the game altogether? And we don't want that to happen either.
Well, it's the ultimate expression of selfishness and corporate responsibility, the game of cricket. And I send a prayer out there to anyone involved in the administration of cricket to deal with the parents who get so hostile about Johnny or Jade or whoever being in third grade instead of second grade. So I hope you keep your patience with the parents.
Well, you learn very quickly, Jim, to be very patient. Otherwise, you don't stay in this caper for very, very long. But yeah, that is an issue. The disappointment and managing the disappointment is an ongoing challenge for us. It's a daily challenge. But yeah, it is part of what we do.
Alison mentioned earlier some of the very young people getting into, say, the WPL and also the IPL with WebHub. And is this, I suppose on one hand, there's a lot of joy that they've made it so quickly. And let's not forget that Sachin Tendulkar played at the very highest level at 15 and a bit, so he's a bit of a beacon there. But is this positive, getting into top-grade cricket at such a young age, or is this negative? How do you see it?
Look, yeah, it's a dilemma for us because you kind of look at also, I mean, these are immature young people who are now in amongst a, adult world with a variety of issues going on around them, some of which they understand, a lot of which they don't. If they have proper support and proper management and all of that, then they may be okay. But I guess the fear is that they could easily get eaten up and chewed up and spat out. And that's obviously a concern as well. But yeah, it we worry about it even from a junior level playing senior cricket. Are they ready for it? Does the fear factor come in and then they walk away from the game? Is it too much to take on? They're young, developing minds as well. And then you've got mum and dad pushing as hard as they possibly can to get to whatever level they think they're capable of. And they don't want to disappoint mum and dad. So it's a lot for these children to have to deal with.
Vanessa, it's a really interesting perspective to get from you at grassroots. I mean, congratulations on the growth of participation, certainly, but it feels like you have a job on your hand just to manage both expectations and volume of cricket that these youngsters are playing. But thanks for being with us on Stumped.
Thank you very much for the opportunity.
Finally on Stumped, where's the drum roll? Anyone got a drum roll? There we go. This is our 500th episode. The show premiered, can you believe, on the 17th of January 2015. We've been going for a decade, Jim and Charu. And in that time, we've spoken to some of the biggest names in the game, and we've debated the big issues around this ever quirky, entertaining, and at times confounding world of cricket. So if I was to say to both of you, how much has the direction of world cricket changed over the course of this decade? What would you say? And if you had to look at, starting with some of the most positive developments from your perspective, who wants to go first? Charu?
Let me begin first by saying that it's been a real pleasure to be on Stump for all these years. And you mentioned change, Alison, but you don't follow it, because the last 10 years you've changed not at all. So that's a big positive.
Oh yeah, you can stay on the show, Charu.
No, thank you. Well, obviously the biggest change really is white ball cricket. It's T20 and perhaps even T10. So is that the mantra to have the game grow around the world? It probably is, because Test match cricket wasn't making the game grow and become truly global. Now, with the possibility of T20 being in the Olympics as well, I think it's an indication that the world is ready to accept cricket as a global game, albeit in a manner which a lot of the pundits and the other connoisseurs will obviously not like. But if that's the way forward, I think we need to embrace it completely. If T20 is the standard format for international cricket, that's fine, and that's how it is. I do think it's given cricket a fresh lease of global life.
Yes, I agree with you there. And it's good that after 10 years, 99.9% of the time, we tend to agree with each other without getting into any raging...
Oh, but it's fun when we don't.
No. But we're good parents, We settle things down and you just let it go outside the off stump and wait for the next one. But no, I think the program's done a lot to continue to proselytise a game that's getting bigger and bigger. And for me, apart from the formats of the game, I think principally the most important thing that's happened in our time has been the development of women's cricket in particular. Now, you could say I say this with a certain kangaroo flavour, because Australia seems to be at the forefront of this in a pretty obvious way by the standard that's set. And I'm hoping that in the next few years, everyone else can keep up to that, so we've got a good level of competition. But there's no doubt the interest in participation, in spectating, media coverage of the women's game has done so much for the profile of cricket.
Two very quick points. One, of course, thank you for leading the show for all these years. And a big thank you to those who stand in. I mean, in India, Sunil Gupta and so many others, and Ali was there yesterday, the last time around, and so many who've stood in for us. So thank you very much to those. And finally, of course, Alison, not finally, but I think Jim and I have sort of grabbed the low-hanging fruit, the growth of white ball cricket and women's cricket. What's your change agent?
Well, I'd, of course, have highlighted the advancements in the women's game. And just to add a little bit more flesh to what Jim was said, the introduction of the Under-19 Women's World Cup, that level of investment. Of course, the Afghanistan women's situation is a true blight on the game at the moment in terms of the game's lack of leadership at the highest level to take any action, to show a level of care towards those players when the Taliban moved in. But I would say, we look towards, maternity policies that have come in, parental policies in the women's game, which just didn't exist when, we began this show in 2015. And a lot of countries, are still coming to the party on those sorts of developments. But I think on a broad picture as well, for me, it's the accessibility of the sport for fans. If you think of the rise of live streaming in the last decade, when we were beginning in 2015, I remember Cricket Australia then only just beginning to live stream some of their women's matches because it just wasn't the norm that the Australian national team was on television. And now you look at the fact that every game of the WBBL, every game of international women's cricket is available to watch.
Well, I'm tempted to add, with particular reference to Stumped, that what I've truly enjoyed over all these years, and it's a bit of our masthead line as well, isn't it? From the quirky world of cricket, we say, and you say, Alison, I've truly enjoyed these stories from different parts of the world where cricket seems to have taken or brought joy to small groups of people. Because of some dedicated cricket coach or whoever's taking it forward in remote places in various corners of the world. I think those stories of
St. Helena, if you remember our visit to there. Do you know what? We were going to finish off by looking at what issues, we think have been sort of negative in the last decade. But I almost want to stop on that just being a positive note, because I feel like we spend a lot of our programme, don't we? We're looking at the challenges facing the game. So maybe for this week, let's wrap by what we've just looked at, some of our thoughts of the advancements that the game has made, because, gosh, it does still face a lot of challenges, and we always unpick those week to week on this programme. So, Jim and Charu, thank you for your company again this week. And, of course, I say thank you to Charlotte, our producer. And that is all we've got time for on this week's Stumped. So thanks to Jim Maxwell, Charu Sharma, and to all of you, most importantly, our listeners. And we'll see you again next week. Bye-bye.